I'd like to call the City of Belton Planning Commission meeting for Monday, February 7 to session. And could we have the roll call, please?
Chairman McPherson,
Here.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember Powell,
Here.
Commissioner McDonough,
Here.
Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Here.
Commissioner Best,
Here.
Commissioner Christie, Commissioner Anderson, and Commissioner Pryan.
Here.
All right, thank you. Have several items for our agenda this evening, several included on the non-public hearings, and we do have one public hearing later in the agenda. But the first item we have would be for the approval of minutes of the November 8 Planning Commission meeting. Could I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve those meetings from November 8th,
Thank you, Commissioner Bass.
2021.
Second.
And Mayor, thank you. Do you have a motion and a second? Are there any agenda or any changes or amendments that need to be made to the minutes? If not, let's vote for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they have been approved. Beginning with our non-public hearings for this evening, number one would be consideration of a request from the Belton Fraternal Order of Eagles for an extension of an approved final development plan. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a follow-up to your introduction, the Fraternal Order of Eagles obtained a final development plan approval from the Planning Commission on May 4th of 2020. That application was filed to permit the construction of a new building at 312 Main Street. That final development plan provided for the approval of 8,400 square foot building consisting of a full-service kitchen, event space, and bar area, just designed to facilitate the Eagles' work as a full-service community operation. So as I stated, that was in May 2020. Our Unified Development Code states that if a final development plan is not commenced within 18 months after the approval, that plan is considered null and void unless extended by the Planning Commission. So the Eagles on November 17th, 2021 did submit a letter to us requesting an 18-month extension of that final development plan, and that was within the 18-month timetable provided for in our code. And the staff does recommend approval of that extension to proceed with the final development plan as originally approved. We do have representative of the Eagles this evening if there are questions for the applicant.
All right, thank you, Director. So, do we have any questions either for the Director or for the representative this evening? As I understand, this is just a extension, so no changes to the plan.
Correct,
That
yes.
was previously adopted, just a matter of extending the time. Mayor?
Do we know why they want to extend?
Well, we could ask the question of the applicant.
There's somebody here? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I did.
We intend to submit the
Would you state your name?
Yep.
And
Who you're with?
let
Mike
us know.
Morse with M Design, architect. Yeah, we intend to submit the drawings for building plan approval as early as this week, no later than probably next week. And so we're ready to get that process started. COVID set us back, as I'm sure it gets blamed for everything. But that's the reason.
Definitely can understand that. Any other questions either for the applicant or for the Director? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion for the consideration of a request from Belton Fraternal Eagles for the extension of the approved final development plan as presented.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Our second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bryant. Any last questions comments? Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Pryan,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough,
Aye.
Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Christie, Councilmember Powell,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey,
Aye.
and Chairman.
Aye. So thank you, that motion does pass. Moving on, the second non-public hearing item is consideration of a final development plan to permit the development of Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers located on the southwest corner of East North Avenue and Apple Valley Parkway. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this is an application for a final development plan for Express Oil and Tire Engineers. Their proposed building would be a 4,700 square foot retail and service facility. There is a customer service waiting area and 12 service bays on the east and west side of the building with overhead doors. Now, this parcel in Apple Valley was rezoned from an R1 single-family residential district to our existing C2 commercial district in March of 2021. A preliminary plan was approved with that rezoning, and that plan provided for a 4,762 square foot retail restaurant building and a drive-through coffee shop. We did attach that original plan to the staff report, and I'm going to pull that up briefly just to provide the Planning Commission and members of the audience with several improvements of the proposed Express Oil plan over the retail plan that was approved in March. First of all, the rear setback of the preliminary plan for March provided for a 20-foot rear setback from the building to the residential property line to the south. The proposed setback of Express Oil, which I will show in a moment, is a 71-foot setback, so we have an enhanced setback and additional open space on that side of the building. Also on the preliminary plan, if you look here, there is a service drive that was approved with that preliminary plan behind the retail restaurant building. It's a dead-end service drive. We felt last March as we reviewed this plan that it was kind of an awkward design and really didn't facilitate ease of deliveries with that bend and turn in it. Plus, that service drive was abutting the single-family property line to the south, and we felt that might have possibility of an adverse effect. So the Planning Commission wanted to, when we get our final development plan, to really examine the need for that one-way service drive. And I'm happy to say with the Express Oil plan that service drive has been eliminated and there's no need for that. The Express Oil landscape plan, which I'll show in a moment, provides for increased screening, landscaping, and a berm along the south property line in that 71-foot setback that I just mentioned earlier. And the Express Oil plan has no parking lot lighting. The Express Oil plan just has building lighting on the building, and those provide what our code requires is 0 foot candles at the property line. Here is the landscape plan. You can see the 71-foot setback of the building to the south property line. We've got a nice line of arborvitae at a 6-foot planting that'll grow to a more mature height, and perimeter landscaping all the way around the building. Now, the existing C2 district is designed to accommodate mid-sized retail and commercial businesses along commercial corridor, and a motor vehicle repair facility such as this application is a permitted use in that zoning district with certain conditions pertaining to parking and vehicle storage. I think it's also important to point out that the Express Oil application, this use does not do any painting or body work at this location. The applicant did prepare a narrative which was included in the staff report. We always like to request narratives from from applicant teams that describe the use, company history, and talk about some of the advantages to the community. And that's provided in the staff report, has information on anticipated revenues, hours of operation, number of employees, and history of the company. Now, to talk a little bit more about that final development plan, this is a 1.9 acre parcel at East North Avenue and Apple Valley Parkway. Access is provided from one driveway at this location, and that aligns with the driveway across the street at an office building. So we do have an alignment of the driveways, which is desirable. The plan does meet all C2 requirements of the general commercial district pertaining to required setbacks, building height, building coverage, required open space. I'll touch on briefly. Our code requires a 20% open space, and the Express Oil plan provides for 76% open space on site. And the plan also exceeds the parking requirements of our code. Talk a little bit about the building design. As the Planning Commission knows, our Unified Development Code requires 50% masonry on all front and side elevations with articulation and offsets in the elevation to provide architectural detail. Now, this proposed building has 100% masonry on all 4 elevations, so it far exceeds the minimum standards of our code. Those masonry materials include stone veneer, face brick, and painted CMU block. There are canopies over the doors and offsets at the overhead doors to provide articulation along the elevation. The storefront glass, there is storefront glass at the customer entrance and storefront transparent glass for the overhead doors, and those are with anodized aluminum frames. And please note that the building provides a brown pitched roof. There are many Express Oil facilities that have a trademark blue roof. We felt like the blue roof would not really be as appropriate on a residential collector street leading into Apple Valley. So after the discussion with the applicant team, they determined that they would do a brown roof with just the blue banding around the building. So we thought that that design was much more compatible in a residential street leading into Apple Valley. The landscape plan, which way was that? And there's the other 4 elevations with all the same 100% masonry. We do have a perspective drawing that shows the overall building design from front and rear. And there is a cross-section drawing that we ask that the applicant team prepare that shows the single-family home to the south and the elevation of the Express Oil. It shows the 71-foot setback. There's a 2-foot berm that we had added to the site, and that berm is going to increase the height of the arborvitae just a little bit more and provide a little bit greater dense planting at that location. And the 6-foot vinyl fence is right here, and that's also shown in an illustration on the landscape plan, along with some parking lot landscaping here to further screen the vehicle lights. So we hope that demonstrates really what the sight line is going to be from the single-family home to the Express Oil. The project is in the Marquee Regional Detention Basin, and stormwater runoff can be provided to the Marquee Regional Basin behind Coles, subject to paying a impervious surface per acre fee. And that is something that the applicant will prepare and take advantage of providing that regional detention instead of on-site detention. Now, this parcel was originally a detention area for Apple Valley, the residential subdivision. And with the creation of the Marquee Regional Detention Basin, this area did not necessarily serve detention for the subdivision. So hence it became a remnant parcel that was acquired by the current property owner, and the site is going to be filled subject to a revised stormwater study. The grading plan is here. The site is being filled. The finished floor elevation of the building is 1,063 feet, which is the same elevation as Apple Valley Parkway. So visitors of the site will pull in a driveway and not have to go down a slope to gain access to the site. And we believe that that would be much more attractive, bringing the building pad site up to existing conditions of the office building across the street and the Apple Valley Shopping Center, which is to the west. At this location, you can see a new structure being constructed to convey that stormwater, and that will then go under 58 Highway and continue on down to the Marquee Basin. This area remains open, kind of an open ditch, and there'll be overland flow here. We did have some concerns about this area. Ideally, we would have liked to have had that area brought up to the same grade as the street for a uniform grade and design across the site. The applicant pointed out that doing so would require MoDOT approvals and permits, putting their structure into the box culvert on the existing right-of-way, and that would be increased cost to the project, increased time with MoDOT, and that was something that discussion continued for an extended period of time. And the applicant will talk a little bit more about that this evening. In conclusion, I will just state that the plan does meet and exceed all the requirements of the C2 General Commercial District. The plan is an improvement over the preliminary plan that was approved by the Planning Commission in March of last year. And based on that compliance with the requirements of our code, the staff does recommend approval of the preliminary development plan. With the staff recommendation, there is a proposed condition number 3 that talks about the revised stormwater study, some requirements for grading, and addresses the issue I mentioned here. We think we have resolved the items that are called out in that condition number 3, and so should the Planning Commission approve a motion for approval, we would ask that that item 3 be removed. So thank you very much for letting me provide that explanation. And the applicant team is present.
Okay, thanks, Director. So would someone from the team like to speak? And if you'll just introduce yourself, give your name for the minutes, and
All right, my name's Andy Golden. I'm with Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers. And I don't know if y'all want to. Check. All right. This is Andy Golden with Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers.
I'm Patricia Jensen with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm with offices at 4510 Bellevue.
Ryan Cooper, engineer with Olson, 7301 West 133rd Street, Overland Park.
All right, so just a little bit more about who we are. Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers was founded in 1979 in the Birmingham, Alabama area in a small suburb of Birmingham. We've now grown to more than 300 locations across 19 states. And we have 3 existing stores in the Kansas City metro. This will be our 4th and 2nd in Missouri. As you can see, we just opened Independence late last year, Overland Park kind of towards the beginning of last year, and Olathe the previous year. As mentioned, our hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we are closed on Sunday. So we feel that's a very compatible with the neighborhood use. We like to call ourselves a neighborhood automotive service facility. On average, across all of our locations, we average about 44 cars a day, stretch out over 10 hours. That's about 4 cars an hour. So we're not a high-intensive use. We don't create a lot of traffic. We try to draw off the traffic that's already there on that street. Our service is a 10-minute oil change that accounts for 75% of our business. So customers will stay in their car during the oil change and then exit out of the building. Longer things like tire rotation or new tires, the customers will exit their vehicle and wait in the lobby. So we only hire fully trained ASC certified technicians. And our stores, we like to say we have 100% survival rate. It's probably closer to 99.5. We don't close stores. We will be here for the long haul. So we're not going anywhere.
I think Dave Clements has already done a very good job of describing the application in front of you, but what we're asking for is approval of a final development plan for Express Oil at this location. And we're in agreement with Mr. Clements' removal of condition number 3, as he stated. So this just shows you an aerial of where this is located. This is closer up. As Mr. Clements highlighted, this property is zoned C2. And he also highlighted what our site plan provides for and compared what was on the previous approved plan compared to what's in this plan, and how much we worked with the staff to increase the setbacks. So the square footage is pretty much about the same as the approved plan. The required setbacks have increased substantially. 30 feet is required in the front yard, and we provided 46 feet. Rear yard, 20 feet is required, and we provided 71 feet. Side yard, 20 feet, and we provided 74 feet. And again, the open space requirement is a 20% open space, and we provided 76% open space. And we've really worked on the landscaping plan. And as Mr. Clements highlighted, the site grading provides fill to raise the grade to the existing condition along Apple Valley Parkway. And again, we've done all the increases in the setbacks, and we've eliminated that one-way dead-end service drive. And we also have no parking lot lighting. This is the proposed front elevation, and then this is the proposed and aerial view of what it will look like. Of course, your requirements are that 50%, that the building has to be constructed with 50% masonry on all sides, and we've got 100% on all 4 elevations. And we've oriented our overhead doors east-west so they don't face the adjacent single-family home. This is, of course, the section view that Mr. Clements showed you. And with that, we would request your approval of the final development plan, subject to the conditions as stated by Mr. Clements.
All right. Thank you.
And we're available to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you. So I will ask the commission if there are any questions or comments that you would like to ask at this time.
Have any of you tried to get off of Apple Parkway onto 58 between 4 and 6 p.m.?
I actually went by the site this afternoon during that time frame and turned left out of Apple Valley fairly easily, but I can see how it might be complicated.
Particularly with, what'd you say, 4 extra cars a day, or I mean an hour?
Yeah, on average about 4 extra cars per hour.
Okay, but is that average, or, I mean, well, I guess you say 70% is the 10-minute oil change, so they would come and go, but some people may actually leave their cars there, right?
Correct. If somebody was getting a longer-term service, they might drop it off in the morning and pick it up in the afternoon.
Okay. I didn't see on the drawing any driveway dimensions, and I think it's in our code, Dave can correct me, that you need to put driveway dimensions on your drawings to make sure that there's room for fire trucks to get in and out and things like that. Well, the drawings are up there someplace, but I mean, maybe it's just a moot point, but it's not a moot point, but it's something that you hopefully can correct before you start building.
Well, the plan's been reviewed by the fire marshal.
Okay.
If that's a concern, sir, yes, sir.
Well, in our ordinance at 20-611, it says entrance and exits or driveway dimensions need to be on commercial plans. So I think we should make sure that we've got something that describes that. You also, and you did anticipate about noise, and our requirements, as Dave pointed out in 40-47, are that in these type of facilities, the garage doors are always closed. Is that in your plan? Because I didn't see anything about this. about that?
We typically leave garage doors up when the weather's nice, and when the weather's cold, they're always down to help warm our employees. But to your point with noise, the building is oriented, so the bay doors do not face the neighbors to the south, so any noise generated would not be headed directly towards the neighbor.
Well, not headed directly, but you did point out, and I appreciate it, that your decibel reading was 83 decibels 50 feet away. And I calculated to the closest built or house, that's about 75 dBA, which is 20 dBA more than what we required for the last time Dave gave us a noise recommendation of 55 dBA for North Point warehouses. So I understand directionally noise goes out this way, but as soon as it leaves that garage door, it goes like this. And it may not be 75, it may be 65, but it's going to be over 55 at the people's backyard, which is the closest. And also, that's just short bursts, which could be controlled if you had an air-conditioned facility, which always had your doors closed, but apparently you don't. So I don't know how that jives with 40-4-7, which we will read now, that says something about,
That's only for body work.
okay, so only for body work.
shop, yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
All right, so I would just say that I wouldn't want to live that close to something that has impact wrenches that are removing tires with an open doors, but maybe that's just me.
I will say that's one reason we've beefed up the landscaping along that south perimeter line. Those thick evergreen trees will help with the noise as well.
Yeah, once they grow up, yep. I guess the other thing is the off-hours parking. Is it really true that if you drive by there after 6 p.m., you won't see any cars in the parking lots?
Any cars that are left overnight, we store inside the building for safety reasons.
Okay. And if somebody comes after 6 p.m. and wants to have their car worked on the next day, is that a no-no, or?
I mean, that would be the one exception if somebody voluntarily dropped it off, but if they drop it off during operating business hours, it will be stored in.
So there is an exception to that, okay. I don't know, if you did a market study, because it seems like we have a lot of oil change and tire engineer, tire replacement shops along that area 58. Is this something where you think you're going to make some money?
We do, yes. We anticipate this being a good location for us.
Okay. Well, I'd just say that since I read this maybe 24 hours ago, I've gotten a lot of people in that area who are really concerned. They really have problems now getting out onto 58, and they really don't like the idea, regardless of the noise issues, regardless of drainage issues, regardless of just open space issues. They don't like the fact that there's going to be even more traffic. In fact, somebody pulling out of there at 4:30, if there's already a backup at 58, I guess they'd have to turn right, go into the subdivision, and come back, make a U-turn, or just wait there and in your parking lot. So it seems to me in an earlier thing with one of our other things that we approved last summer, we asked for a traffic, at least a traffic plan, and I think in this case we need also some kind of traffic plan, because the traffic, if anything, is an order of magnitude greater there already, more so than it was in the Bradford Lane issue. But those are my comments.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Mayor?
I got a couple questions. Just out of curiosity, this landscape plan going towards traffic getting out onto 58, is there any way we could probably cut those 2 trees out that are right there at the intersection, just so you have a better line of sight to the left? You understand what I'm saying?
He's asking staff, I think.
We're open to relocating those somewhere else on the property if staff thinks that's appropriate.
Well, we'll certainly,
I mean, that could be a, when they plan a discussion, but to me, that would help that line of sight looking left.
maybe a recommendation would be with eventual construction drawings that you put a line of sight triangle at that intersection. That way we can make sure no plantings are in that triangle. Would that be okay, Mayor Larkey?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, and, you know, the other thing I got is to answer your question. If people in Apple Valley are concerned about this intersection, they always got another way out the back and the east side of their addition that they can go out to Mullen Road and hit the light, so.
Well, yeah, and
That traffic thing doesn't bother me, because they have another way in and out, so.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, but the more direct way is just simply to let them go out on 58. And
No.
everybody's gonna say, well, you can't do that because of MoDOT, but
I didn't say that, I'm
No,
just
you
saying,
didn't,
I'm
but-
just saying they have another option is what I'm getting at.
no, I'm really not arguing with you. I'm really
No, I know, I'm
sugge-
just, I'm just pointing it out, that's,
yeah, suggesting that a more direct route, obviously, is to have the driveway come out on 58. And even one resident recommended that the driveway be entered from the shopping center parking lot that's next door. Now, that might even be more interesting conversation with those people, but certainly,
probably two things we can't control.
you're absolutely, we can't control them, but the applicant can control, not control it, but can ask for it.
And it is zoned commercially, so no matter what goes in there, there's going to be an uptake in traffic. So, you know, we were talking before, a restaurant and an oil change going in there, there would have been a lot more traffic at that point than just having the single
I thought it was,
business in there.
Mr. Chair, I agree. It was a drive-through restaurant.
I
Would've
thought
took-
I thought there was like a coffee shop or
Right.
or a restaurant, because I know that one-way drive that came around
Correct.
was so that they could load and unload for the restaurant, so.
Correct.
Any other comments, questions?
I just want to kind of address the traffic. I don't go down 58 between 4 and 6, typically on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday myself. So fortunately, we have alternatives to get through town and get around town. And I just don't know with the commercial zone that there's a way around that. So I agree with the mayor. There is an alternate route to get out, and we've all strategically had to figure out how to get around and get through town. So I like this option better as far as the traffic. I think we'll have less traffic with this type of business than the coffee drive-through. Thank you.
Any other comments?
does it, well, does anybody have a reason why we can't go out on 58? I mean, I'm presuming maybe it's because somebody has to talk to MoDOT, but is that
well, engineering-wise, that would be, I think, a bigger problem with traffic exiting the site. It's much better to have traffic on Apple Valley Parkway, an existing road, for turning movements and control instead of adding an additional driveway to East North Avenue. And really, I'm hearing the conversation about traffic, and that's important, but, you know, 4 or 5 cars an hour is just literally a drop in the bucket in terms of the conditions at that location.
Additional comments?
I guess I have one question that, for the minutes or for us, could you get your phone number and email address? One of you? Maybe,
I mean, sure. My email address is pjensen, JENSEN, at Rouse, ROUSEPC.com.
okay,
And
thank you.
my firm's phone number is 816-753-9200.
And could you repeat your
and,
name again?
Patricia
Patricia.
Jensen,
Okay.
And I believe the next door residential property owner is here, if you would like to hear from him. I know our property owner has discussed this
Oh,
with
is that,
him.
okay.
Mr. Foster. Foster.
So, yes, if you would. So, because I think you're the one that probably would have the biggest impact as far as how it would impact you at your home.
Yes, my name's Wes. I live property right next door. David Christie went over the initial plan with me, and then the revised plan. I obviously had many concerns. He has addressed all those concerns, has been more than generous. He's made improvements onto my property, and has given me allowance for extra trees on my property for shade, and overall has been very courteous and generous.
Thank you.
I was going to say that I think they've done a great job of trying to have some noise barrier and make it look well for the homeowner on that side. So that,
120
I
per
appreciate
dollar
that.
per
Are there, can you go over again the concerns regarding that elevation there on 58 and the stormwater? Just briefly.
Let's return to the grading plan then. I think that's on,
I don't think we have it in there.
I-
Dave.
I need to exit the flash drive then. So there we go. Pull up staff report. Here it is. So, yeah, it's open channel drainage now that comes here and goes under the corner of the building, and you can see the structure is being constructed to pick up the water here, take it under the edge of the new parking lot, and discharge into this riprap, and it'll be open drainage into the box structure that goes under 58 Highway. The site's built up to 1,063 feet, which is the same grade as Apple Valley Parkway, and that necessitates this slope back down to where the outfall is.
From speaking to homeowners, that I think that was the only concern, not the only, but that was a big concern that they had, was making sure that stormwater was, and this looks like it's an improvement for that, so thank you.
You're welcome. And we did talk about perhaps an additional condition that the Planning Commission could add pertaining to maintenance of that area in terms of trash and debris and maintaining the turf and the weeds. So should there be a motion to approve, Chairman McPherson has some suggested wording.
Any additional questions, comments?
I just have,
Commissioner?
on the, coming out to 58 Highway, aren't the curb cuts pretty much limited by MoDOT?
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be able to put a curb cut there, would they?
Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
MoDOT has regulations as to where you can put curb
Right.
cuts as they relate to these.
Right, you just can't put it out to
Streets,
the highway
yes.
wherever you want.
Right.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the
Okay.
final development plan.
Thank you, Commissioner. We do have a
Second.
motion and a second. Let me go ahead, if it is appropriate at this point, and read some wording that we came up with that might be included in here, since we are talking about the riprap and that area as far as the maintenance of it. And this would be point number 5. Now, I know we took out number 3, so I guess this would technically go to point number 4. But Express Oil and Tire Engineers shall maintain free of tall grass, overgrown weeds, junk, trash, and debris in the stormwater management facilities shown on the final development plan. So basically, just making sure that they would make sure that that was kept clear, so that there would not be buildup of anything to prevent the water from flowing through in the event that it was needed.
And we don't have an objection to that condition. That's a requirement of any property owner, so.
So, Like when we have those kind, right?
Right.
So, I guess at this point, I would like to recommend that that be included in, I know we have a motion and a second. Could we amend the motion to include this as one of the recommendations? Do it. We have that from the person that made the motion and from the second, Mayor. Is that acceptable? All right, very good. So we have this as amended. Are there any further comments, questions before we vote? Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Pryan,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Aye.
Commissioner Christie, Councilmember Powell,
No?
Mayor Larkey,
Aye.
and Chairman McPherson.
Aye. So that has passed, and
Thank you all.
we appreciate you all being here this evening.
Thank you.
And, all right, so we will move on to our next item. Again, a non-public hearing for the consideration of a final development plan for RG Federal Credit Union to permit the development of a new facility located in the southwest corner of Town Center Drive and Markey Parkway. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a follow-up to that introduction, as you stated, this is an application for a final development plan for RG Federal Credit Union to allow the development of a new branch facility for the company. The proposed building would be 2,849 square feet with a customer lobby and a drive-through facility. I do have the site plan on the overhead, and you know, it's just what I think is just a really neat little plan. This came together really well. I think it's going to be a great location for RG Credit Union. It's as I stated, a 2,848 square foot facility with a drive-through that goes around the building and exits. They're utilizing a existing curb cut on Town Center Drive for access, which necessitates this long driveway. But I think it adds some of the appeal to the site. In terms of some details of the final development plan, it's a 1.1 acre site. The plan does meet all the requirements of the C2 zoning district in terms of setback, building height, building coverage, required open space. We always like to talk about open space. Code requires 20%. This plan provides 45%. And maybe one thing in terms of a minor exception, our code requires 3 stacking spaces at a drive-up window or a ATM. And there's an exhibit attached to the plan that shows 2 spaces before you get to this one narrower entrance driveway here. The company believes that 2 stacking spaces is sufficient, particularly since there's not really a teller window, there's just a night drop. So there's a little bit difference from an actual teller window. And they'll talk a little bit more about that in their comments to the Planning Commission. The Unified Development Code, as you know, requires 50% masonry on front and side elevations with articulation and offsets to add architectural detail. Primary materials on this building are face brick, architectural metal panels, and storefront transparent glass. Around the entire building, there is 27% masonry, which is less than the 50% requirement of the code. However, our code does recognize and allow other acceptable materials, and the code does state that architectural metal panels, such as these blue panels, as you see here, are an acceptable substitute for masonry. Now, these architectural metal panels provide an attractive, clean building design, and they're a durable, no-maintenance material, so I think that's an adequate substitute for masonry on the building. There are brick offsets on these columns to provide articulation along with the offset metal walls. And I think the transparent glass is a really key feature of the building. It's just going to open up a lot of light and really provide a nice environment inside the building. This property is adjacent to the Marquee Regional Detention Basin. The basin is right here with my cursor, and so they obviously can take advantage of participation in that proximity to the basin, so there's no on-site detention with the plan. This is the landscape plan. The landscape plan provides required screening around the dumpster, parking lot, landscaping, and required street trees, so meeting all requirements of the Unified Development Code. There is a related subdivision application on the agenda and a plat of vacation. Since I have this plan up, let me show you the vacation, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. But Town Center Drive comes from the south, and its original location was here, and you can see this width. That's the right-of-way width of the original Town Center Drive, and then it aligns with Marquee Parkway at this point. When Town Center Drive and Marquee Parkway were constructed with the Transportation Development District, the routing of Town Center Drive was changed to this, and so this original right-of-way was never utilized and needs to be vacated in order to allow the plan. Again, the existing curb cut is here, and their driveway comes in on the existing right-of-way. There's a large retaining wall here, so the right-of-way needs to be vacated to allow this driveway configuration for the access to the facility. So with that, I'll close my comments and state that staff recommends approval, and we're just really happy with the way this plan came together. We think it's going to be a great location for the branch. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. And you did say that the applicant is here to speak? So, all right, great. And again, if you'll just state your name for the minutes.
Good evening, thank you. My name's Joy Conklin. I'm the president of RG Federal Credit Union. We had a little write-up in here. I hope you all read it. We've been in the community since 1957, started as a military credit union, and when we lost the base in the middle 70s, we became a community chartered credit union. We offer full service products, and anybody who lives, works, worships in Cass, Jackson, and 13 other counties is welcome to join the credit union. So,
great.
Brian?
Good evening. My name is Brian Hochstein. I'm with MKEC Engineering. We were responsible for the plans, and I'm also representing the architects, Collins and Webb Architecture tonight. So I think Director Clemens did a great job explaining the project. This is a unique site. It's challenging. It's narrow. It comes to a point. We have to enter it from a very specific driveway access. There was a right-of-way to vacate, and so we've worked through all that. And I have to say, working in the city of Belton's been great, and we've been able to work through any of the minor things. We are in agreement with the conditions that are associated with our plan. I think the only thing that you guys are not seeing is we're going to provide an ADA sidewalk access through the parking lot to the public right-of-way, to the public sidewalk. So that's one thing you're not seeing there. We do not have any monument sign, but for the benefit of the final development plan, we've identified 2 locations where in the future they may want to put it. So rather than come back before this body, we'll go ahead and get that passed through now. But other than that, any questions that you have for Joy or myself?
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the commission?
I guess I just have one. Why did you do away with drive-through teller accommodation?
Well, the secret is we're going to be putting in ITMs. They're intelligent teller machines.
Oh, okay.
So while there won't be a body in the window, if you need to talk to somebody, you'll be able to.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
how is the lighting back in that location? Because I would think it would be a little dark on that side.
There will be parking lot lights all the way around the building.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any further questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the final development plan for RG Federal Credit Union to permit the development of a new facility located at the southwest corner of Town Center Drive and Markey Parkway as presented.
Second.
Here. And Councilman for the second.
Second.
Any further comments or questions?
Great location.
I don't know what you were talking about being a little difficult to get in. But that's a great spot and I think really, really good. So, all right. If there are no more comments or questions, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan?
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Monahan Bass?
Aye.
Commissioner Christie? Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Mayor Larkey?
Aye.
And Chairman McPherson.
Aye. So that motion has passed and brings us to item D, the non-public hearing, which is consideration of a final plat for the RG Federal Credit Union located at the southwest corner of Town Center Drive and Markey Parkway. Director?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the final plat for RG, oh,
That's fine. Was there anything that we needed to discuss, Director?
It's an unplatted property. We need the plat in order to authorize the building permit, make sure we have easements and all the appropriate things necessary for construction. Yes, sir. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Larkey.
Mayor, I heard that, and I appreciate that motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan?
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Monahan Bass?
Aye.
Commissioner Christie? Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Mayor Larkey?
aye.
And Chairman McPherson.
Aye. All right, thank you. That motion has passed, and that does conclude the non-public hearings for this evening. We do need to call to order a public hearing for the consideration of a vacation of an unimproved dedicated right-of-way located west of the southwest corner of Town Center Drive and Markey Parkway. And I believe the director pointed this out to us previously, but this is a public hearing, and so we would entertain if there is anyone to speak either in favor or against the vacation. Give you the opportunity to speak. And I'll call once more for that. Then we will close the public hearing. And Director, was there anything additional that you needed to give us in way of information on that?
Just for the record, the Unified Development Code requires utility agencies and property owners abutting the easements of the vacation to be advised of the public hearing and the proposed vacation, and no protests or objections were received from utility companies or property owners.
All right, very good.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the vacation of an unimproved dedicated right-of-way located west of the southwest corner of Town Center Drive and Markey Parkway as presented.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Bass. All right, any discussion, comments? May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Best?
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan?
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Monahan Bass?
Aye.
Commissioner Christie? Councilmember Powell?
Aye.
Mayor Larkey?
Aye.
Chairman McPherson.
Aye. So, Director, I guess we are ready for your report. Do you have anything for us?
Well, let me correct, next meeting date is not March 8th, it's March 7th, so I'm sorry about the incorrect date on your agenda. But just briefly, we are working on an agenda for that March 7th date. And the Planning Commission might remember that we recently did a final development plan at the southeast corner of Mullen and East North Avenue that had a quick change oil facility and a drive-through coffee shop. It was a 151 Coffee Shop was the name of that facility. It had a metal roof, a red pitched metal roof, and that developer lost the 151 Coffee, so they're coming back and amending the plan, and I think this is going to be an improved plan. They're working on and bringing a Chase drive-through bank and lobby facility to put at that corner, and I do believe that the Chase Bank is going to be much more attractive than just the drive-through coffee shop there. So they're going to be submitting that this Friday, February 11th, and I think it's going to be put on that March 7th agenda. March 7th agenda.
Is it gonna be a coffee shop and the oil change place like it was before?
The oil change place and a bank.
Oh, both of them, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And they're working to, Chase has certain architectural and material requirements that Chase has across all of their stores, and so they're working to get some of those details put onto the oil change facility. So that's what I'm hoping we can see works out this Friday. So we'll let you know that's what's coming up on that March meeting date. So thank you.
All right. I believe we have.
Could I make a couple comments? Because at the risk of at the risk of being labeled the cranky old guy, I'm your liaison with the city council, so I wanted to report on a couple of things that went to the city council from here that had maybe different outcomes than what you expected or what this committee expected. Is this appropriate time or
I think that would be.
before you
yes.
adjourn, I guess?
No, that, we don't have a place for new items, but this would be the time for it.
Okay.
I would say.
Well, at the July 19th, 2021 meeting, we had 5 conditions for building permit for Caliber Collision. Condition 4 was an explanation as to how the traffic would be limited in the residential area. And I don't know that most people heard this, but we did hear back that Caliber's response was that Caliber employees will properly be trained to inform customers to access the site from North Avenue and avoid utilizing Given off of Cedar Street. In addition, Caliber employees will be instructed to reach out to the local tow companies to inform them as well. So there won't be signs or anything, there'll just be verbal, don't turn left when you leave here, I guess. Condition 5, in the discussion, I went back and looked at it on YouTube. There was a verbal thing from you, Chairman McPherson, that prior to building permits, these conditions will be met. Well, condition 5 was actually written in the minutes that Caliber Collision will provide information of permits obtained by other agencies regarding noise, hazardous air pollutants, wastewater, solid waste, and chemical storage. And the response from the city was, the staff mainly, was prior to an occupancy permit being issued, Caliber occupancy permit, not building permit, Caliber Collision will be required to provide copies of all permits that are required to obtain by law regarding noise, hazardous air pollutants. So the gist of my recommendation, which I appreciate you guys added as condition 5, really got kind of pushed to what's legal, which is they got to get some permits, they'll get permits and they'll tell us about it, as opposed to telling us up front what they're really doing, because I'm still really concerned and I'm still trying to track down from them the hazardous materials that they use on site. Nobody's yet from Caliber Collision told me what they use to remove paint. If they use methyl chloride, it's a carcinogen. And also, I visited the Lee Summit Caliber Collision, and they don't close their doors, even though we were told by Caliber Collision that all their stores do that, or at least the Belton one will, hopefully. And also that they do release volatile organic compounds to the atmosphere. They couldn't tell me legally if methyl chloride was used, but they said, yeah, you can sometimes smell our exhaust fumes. And so that doesn't bode well, particularly since over the last 2 months, I've left 15 different voicemails on about 10 different phones trying to talk to a Caliber Collision person who actually knows what their, in quotes, general rules are for their state-of-the-art buildings, which I assume we're going to get in Belton. And anyway, is one thing that went through and really didn't get, in my opinion, the treatment that the Planning Commission had voted for. The other thing was September 20th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting recommended City Council consider funding a noise report that would develop a new noise ordinance for the city, but instead the staff recommended to use the existing code standards and address things case by case. And I think tonight's a perfect example of how we addressed it case by case. The level for the people at the fence line in North Point were given a 55 dBA limit, and the people here were given no limit. So I hate to, again, sound like a cranky old person, but this is another reason why I think we need a noise standard, and yet the City Council didn't think so, so we don't have a noise standard. So thank you for letting me say that.
Thanks, Councilman. Appreciate the, because I know you are the liaison with the council. And so just like you take things from us to present to them, I appreciate you bringing things back from the council for us as well. So, all right.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.